Part 3 of Housewife Turn to Work Affair. All other parts down below. The documents were delivered on time. She still hasn't replied. I don't think in divorce, so that's why I'm not seeking for one. It's also highly likely that, since legal separation and divorce are essentially the same thing, we'll utilize my lawyer for all the paperwork and attempt to settle everything through mediation. It is our current position. She became rather emotional when it came to moving out, but she is firmly devoted to the notion, and from what I've heard, she is still in constant communication with the other man and is making plans for when she stays in the house, while attempting to maintain a safe distance. I'm trying to be kind, but not too much. Put another way, we're not arguing and we're doing housework and child care together. However, I've made it clear that I'm not her friend and that the other man and I will not coexist in the same universe. I believe that reality has seeped in somewhat, but not sufficiently, and taking the tiny man to North Carolina is going to be difficult, in particular due to schedule, child care, and other factors. 95% of relationships end by accident. I just need a chance to make amends, to express my emotions, to let her know that I've evolved, to give her a chance to prove to me that our marriage has value, as well as to improve their marriage. She has been praising me more lately, and I believe that she is afraid to live alone. In the meantime, he's undoubtedly boosting her self-esteem. But according to OMX, it's true that he can't hold it for very long. And now here I am, developing myself, becoming a better guy and dad. This is the epitome of 17 years of history, moment, humor, and solace. The financial part is tough, too, because she is a greater person than she could have ever imagined. Her uncle, who is strongly in favor of marriage and family, recently made the decision to provide our kid and ourselves with 2 separate checks totaling respectable amounts of money from his trust in order to facilitate the transition. Let's just say that it will be much simpler for my wife to pay off her debts and support us both with her wages. Of course, I want her to have difficulty. Thus, the financial issue is now moot, and unless the swindles her, I don't see her blowing through the cash. Basically, all I can do is hope that the affair ends naturally and that she comes to the realization that the grass isn't always greener. I can't get over how boring she still seems to be when she goes around the home. When it does happen, I suppose that will be a very long conversation. If she follows my guidelines. 1. Make me feel unique. 2. If there are no sentiments of inferiority, then it ought to be simpler. However, we'll need to move past the queries and responses. Earlier today, my wife texted me. I really apologize for causing you any suffering. I wish you could find it in your heart to pardon me at some point. I chuckled a lot when I realized this. She was also asleep when I arrived home late. Pardon her, but without 1. Completing any job, and 2. Assessing the current status of our relationship. I will only be able to forgive her if we make amends. I will not absolve her of her guilt or simply let her go so she may move on. I hope this turns into regret one day. The cards are in my hands to fall where they may. Even though it aches to still have her in the house, she will soon be moving out. I've embraced the strategy and mindset. She is aware of my emotions. Until she moves out, I'm going to be the cool, collected, steady dude that she knows and loves. She is aware that I am not allowed to exist in the same universe as her. I'm done when she moves and won't stop until he leaves her life. Added to the 180 I've been performing. It is challenging, but I also have a 3-year-old that I need to lead by example. In addition, I've gained a lot of knowledge regarding my accountability for the events in my marriage. In addition, I think that my personal development has continued and will continue. I have the chance to grow as a man, a parent, and hopefully a spouse. If not, then someone is going to be really fortunate in the future. And if my spouse puts in the effort, that is, if she stops putting her head in her back, we can improve our marriage, and I feel liberated in any case from having to be completely honest with myself and my circumstances. Going forward, even on the difficult days, and there will be many of those, I can simply concentrate on giving it my all. If she keeps her world schedule the same, I can see her 5 nights a week. Most of our routine will not change. The babysitter arrives from 9 until 1:30. When I get home, my wife would watch from 1:30 to 6. She'll go, wash it off, and come back. I get him seated, excluding the weekends. She gets him on a Sunday night. She gets him early in the week if she alters her schedule, and I get later. He'll mostly be with me, though. Though it appears to me that she is hiding something from him, he is completely aware. I've made an effort to alert him, but I don't want to jeopardize his health because he's elderly and fragile. Having said that, he really supports the idea of our getting back together, and I believe that the funds were used just as much to support our son. All he truly wants is for us to be back together, and it seems like he's trying to make things work. But I can't tell him what to do with his money since it's his. In addition, he handed her the money knowing that she was looking for an apartment, but she has been quite the trip these last 3 days. She said I could come over for supper yesterday. I told her emphatically no. She started to cry. I told her last night, in my best voice, that I'm here to listen if you need me and that I won't try to cure anything. Many work-related matters unrelated to the affair were going on, and she added, for now, which I reiterated, until you move out. That's when she started crying, and this morning she changes the storyline and tells me she's moving on. The main issue I have is not with her self-discovery, but rather with her decision to keep dating the other man. Not everything is about the other man, was her response. All I want is to improve for myself. I will be miserable if I stay here. However, if I go, I might realize that it was the worst decision I've ever made. I've already expressed my regret, too. And what more would you like me to do? Yes, since everything is miraculously erased by the words. Should someone have perused surviving an affair, she's fully in Sue mode. She seems to be trying to hang on to something, I can tell. She even declared that, regardless of my desire, I would always be her best friend. I'm not sure how that occurs. I mean, can't I just declare that you will always be my wife, regardless of your desire to change? She also became upset when she said, if she texts about our son, at least I can be civil. I believe she's beginning to understand that I take seriously my intention to maintain my ground and establish limits in our relationship. And when it comes to her relationship with him, I'm not going to back down. However, I believe that because she's sacrificing me for him, she's also beginning to experience that sensation of loss. Nevertheless, she was so stressed out yesterday at work that she suffered a panic attack. She declares her desire for happiness, etc. However, both she and the other man take antidepressants, medications for anxiety. I don't think that sounds like happiness. I was also going over those emotional requirements from the marriage builders. Considering those, he can only be 3 at most. When I'm fully recovered, I can absolutely destroy them. My therapist tells me that all I have to do is kick back and watch the show. Just to give you a small update, the Friday before Father's Day, my wife was accepted for an act. She didn't want to ruin it for me, so she didn't tell me until the Monday after. We went and did a lot of enjoyable things with our son that weekend. It would be impossible for someone looking in from the outside to see anything amiss. She asked me a variant of the same question every day for the whole weekend. What if, a year from now, I discover that this is the biggest mistake of my life? Do you believe that we still have hope? We might begin a committed relationship, etc. We need to see where we both are, I said to her. That there is always hope, and that I would love to make our marriage whole again. However, I refuse to take second place or serve as your fallback option. Although it feels strange, the fact that there is a time restriction on everything has made it quite simple to carry out the plan. I have only been polite and kind. I've listened and been patient. I've been making an effort to demonstrate the improvements I've made since finding out about this, as well as the things I did to further sabotage our marriage. I haven't been flawless and have allowed a few hurtful remarks to pass. Whenever I attempt to express my regret, she responds with something like, I understand, you have every right to feel that way, or you deserve it. Additionally, I've begun implementing some of No More Nice Guys ideas and have received a respectable response. She may not have admitted that she found me all that beautiful, but she has begun to recognize some of the changes. On the first, she receives the keys. I informed her that after she vacates, that will be it. I am her son's father, not her buddy, and I will always be that way as long as the other man is in your life. Since I don't want the other man to be involved with that and possibly a few other things, I'll assist with setting up my son's room. Regretfully, she will be visiting to relieve the babysitter on several days per week and spend some quality time with our youngster. Therefore, communication won't be difficult, but she is aware that, small business aside, I gave her a digital frame last year that she intends to use. I asked her whether she would mind if I removed some of the pictures, including mine. No, she replied. Wouldn't it be awkward if the other man stopped by? I wondered. She claimed not to give a damn. She is free to do as she pleases in her own home. Most likely only refers to indulging in cake while remaining undecided. However, she added 2 months ago that she didn't think they would ever get back together. Even though she was crying as she signed the lease and told me how sad she was, she couldn't wait to get away. She remains a housewife. Regarding the pictures in her digital frame, I would like to keep them there, so the other man will be thinking about me in the back of his mind when he sees them. Thanks to his ex, I've discovered that he's a highly controlling and insecure person. Therefore, it is best to get anything into his head. Regarding filing, she is finishing up her response this week after I filed. That's actually what's enabling her to leave the house. Her lease is all that the year thing is. If she discovers herself before the year, her mother has already told her that. She is able to work that out. The same thing has also been expressed by her therapist. Even though I'd like to reduce her presence in the house, her aunt, our babysitter, does it here. This includes the play structure, backyard, and all of the toys. And the aunt declared that as long as he is in the photo, there is no way in the world that she will watch our son and my wife play. Our son's aunt also refuses to drive him there. We currently cannot afford daycare centers. My son also adores his aunt. That won't alter. Although it is a regrettable compromise, it is required for the benefit of my son. From the beginning, my mother-in-law and aunt-in-law have been incredibly supportive. They have essentially ignored their daughter, their niece, who is associated with him, and they are also on my side. They are attempting to minimize it, but they also won't stop her from seeing her son. As things stand, she'll only get him 2 days a week. I'll start educating my son that the other man is bad, or rather, that was the goal from the beginning. Additionally, even though my wife would be watching him, my aunt won't be able to stay after a certain point because she has an afternoon job. As a result, no one would be there to monitor him. She'll witness the improvements being done to the house as well. I won't inquire about her, but the renovated bedroom is really worth mentioning. She is aware of my changes and is concerned. Even though I'm moving on, there will always be a possibility, if only because of my son. Having been that, the affair armor already has some shoddy elements. I learned about her first therapy session from her mother. According to the therapist, a few of the things she mentioned about him have generated serious concerns about his dominating conduct. My spouse was instructed by the therapist to inform me of this when she felt ready. I'm not sure what that implies, but I'm going to be as honest as I can be given the circumstances. I shall not inquire or conjecture about her past. She is aware of my position. She departs when I get home. The odd part is that she won't get too much with the other man since by the time she gets home, it's usually dinner and bed. This is because of her schedule and the time it takes her to get to my house, not to mention the schedule of the other individual. The former partner has been delighted to provide me. She is even battling throughout the divorce to keep her children away from my wife. They won't find it simple at all. Already there is a hint of fading illusion. His actual nature is beginning to emerge. I don't provide any financial assistance, but we can afford daycare. Ever since my wife returned to work, her aunt has been so kind as to be doing this. We pay her a small fraction of what real Bay Area child care costs. This is unchangeable. Not only does a lot of the planned activities accommodate my schedule, but my son will also experience a smoother transition. Everyone agrees that this is the best course of action for him given the circumstances. She has also consented to the terms about the other man. I'm doing my best to limit G, but she has a right to her son, and he wants to spend time with his mother. The best chance is that he will be at his mother's house at night, screaming out for me, like he usually does. She also needs to give a reason for my absence. Additionally, she doesn't gain access when she wants to. It's what's on hand. 4 days a week, from 2 to 6 in the afternoon, he would be left alone. This allows him to have someone babysit him until I get home and prevents him from missing too much mommy time. She is removing the mattress and bed. I replace the mattress and redecorate the bedroom as a result. I wouldn't want it back and it's a little older anyhow, so even if she does figure it out, it's not a loss there. All images of married couples disappear. Painting over, etc. Not only that. However, since I'll be a single father, my entire way of life will alter. Simplified approach to handling issues, meals and cleaning. My transition will be smooth, while hers will be difficult. If it's not updated, it will appear, and actually be, as though I can live my life without her. I'm aware that she's beginning to sense the effects of what's happening. However, as everyone knows, that's when reality confronts her. Change can come when she reaches her lowest point. In my case, I've already evolved. I've adjusted already. I won't be interacting with her very much. Just a few things, nothing special, and I won't answer her questions about my day or inquire about hers. She departs when I get home. Although it's not the ideal backup plan, there are some circumstances beyond anyone's control. It's more difficult when you have young children because scarring them is the last thing anyone wants to do. I'm not going to harm my son in the process of trying to salvage my marriage. He is the priority, and my wife notices that, I believe, when I show him that care. At most, the other man can satisfy 3 emotional requirements. I can fill all 10, but I have to put my son and myself first until she requests those filled. Every day, bringing my youngster from my house to her house presents logistical challenges. And after that, I would pick him up each day. This affects every individual engaged. The truth is that, in many ways, my home is more suitable for my son's care. But she will have to deal with him being at her apartment for those 2 days. I don't see why my son should have to endure needless suffering. He shouldn't be running around all day, in my opinion. That will be a different story come September, when he enters preschool. But for now, we all want him to have an easy adjustment. That rest, however, will be gravy. She has been sick for the past several days, so I have been trying to address her emotional needs by being aware of the little things that can make a difference. She mentions that things won't change until she moves out, and I tell her that's true in a voice that doesn't waver. I remind her that I am not a part of her life as long as he is. In addition, I plan to stay in the house until the very last minute, therefore a short sale will most likely be necessary. Until after the holidays, anyway. That means that I will continue to reside in a distant city than her, which makes her unhappy. And even if I really want to go back to where she is, it's better to go to the house with the backyard and all to find who I am. I'm not sure what she expects of me before I move back into an apartment, but I'm going to smash her expectations completely. She's going to see that I'm not simply the man she fell in love with, even if I know she's not in love with me at the moment. Of course, that signifies one of 2 things: I'm better. Some lucky woman will find herself with a more capable and fit man, or better yet, me, who will be able to have a better marriage, should she choose to improve as well. I've made the decision to hold myself to a higher moral standard, among other things. It's all play once the official separation is finalized. However, I'm going to put my son first and work on rebuilding my life in the interim. In addition, summer break is over and I work close to a large university. I believe I will always watch those mental images. My wife will have to assist in getting rid of them, and there are very particular methods she can accomplish so. Having said that, I have no problem acquiring new female acquaintances. I just won't do it in a way that confuses my son. Right now, he's the most significant individual present. My wife gave me one of her greatest comments last night. She asked me last night after her therapy appointment, and she also questioned her therapist, who didn't seem to know why I've been so kind to her in spite of everything she's done. She doesn't know why she's perplexed. All I said to her was that I wanted to savor these final days before she moved out. That arguing is pointless and that I'm an asshole. It merely makes things more challenging and doesn't provide our son with a positive model. Obviously, she's unaware that I'm on plan A, but it appears to be functioning satisfactorily. I checked on her last week when she was feeling under the weather after a girls' night out. However, I reaffirm when she brings up topics that we are not going to be friends and that I will not be speaking with her about anything other than child-related matters. She also noted that I had purchased an Axe body scrub on sale, so why not? Why? She inquired. Just let her know they were discounted. She continued, though, as if there were something wrong with me, saying that I didn't need to change and that she didn't want me to. To put it mildly, it made me laugh a lot. My wife is moving out a few days later. I'm letting her go so she can pursue her happiness and live her life. Our son is the only relationship I intend to have with her. All the same, I'm taking this one here. They've fought over texts before, I think. How he controls and manipulates her, particularly during their arguments. How he abruptly shifts the topic to her. In addition, his soon-to-be ex has given me an incredible amount of information on the OM. To be quite honest, I don't think it will work out, and if she is paying attention to her therapist, she has already identified 4 or 5 warning signs about him. Her family's passing and her just having half of our son with him will also probably play a part. I doubt my wife would take it well, by the way. Sure, if I started chatting to other ladies and sleeping around. She did give me the, I just want to see you happy, after all. And sure lines, if that makes you pleased. As a reaction to the previous, what kind of question would you like to ask someone you've recently started dating or seeing other women? She would definitely become envious, but I don't want to play that card just now. I might hang out with several women after she moves out and after my son goes through a transformation. It's funny, they work together and some of my friends are her pals. They support the continuation of the marriage and agree with me. Yes, when we get together for beers, they even bring up or even mention such a possibility, like a woman approaching me to have a conversation. I go out with them after we move out, and she is minding our son. They would gladly give me all the information I need to make her envious for a whole night, without putting anything at risk. Is it deceptive? Yes, in a way, but only enough to arouse such emotions. Not anymore. Do I intend to move in a strictly traditional sense? No, but I'm getting over it bit by bit. Am I hoping for a miracle to happen? Yes, for my son as well as for myself. I aim to provide him with a whole family, as he deserves it. The strategy is effective. My wife's eyes seem to be filled with mistrust. I am aware that she is still communicating with him via text. I also know that my wife has instructed him to take a step back while she works things out. This is what she told me, and her therapist confirmed it as well. The worst part is the previously mentioned warning signs that the therapist has noticed, such as my lack of interest in what my wife is asking him. Does that really have a big impact? No, but it's a minor cut on her psyche that might get bigger in the future. She'll be moving out shortly, too. She signs a lease and purchases new furniture. Everything is kid-only after that. I'm not going to probe. However, I am familiar with her. She will be affected by it. Our son is going to find her. Maybe she will wait till the end of the lease. However, she will react since her holidays are very important to her. How am I aware of this? This is nothing new to me. We split up before we were married a long time ago. She spent 10 months living away. She started dating her roommate 3 months after she moved out, of 4 who shared an apartment. In that time, she spoke with me about a variety of subjects. She was discovering who she was, how we were best friends. Lynn, I'm a male. Before then, we had been dating for 8 years. Eventually discovered that he had been very emotionally and physically abusive to her. He was an alcoholic and had cheated on her several times. She would walk away, then returning to him. It would occur multiple times. To keep him safe during that time, she had told several lies. She was unable to leave her family since they behaved just like they do now. She was dependent on him. She was acting and talking the same things that she is saying today the entire time. As a matter of fact, she gave me multiple cards at that time. They appear to be brand new. When he made a mistake, we broke up. I snapped pictures of her injuries and reported him to the police. 3 months later, we were back together, and the holidays were when we spent a lot of that healing. But I believe that because we didn't recover properly, we have problems now. But let's just say that based on the way she's acting, this is all very familiar. His non-abusive nature is the only distinction. However, he is just as cunning and domineering. She simply isn't aware of it yet. She will rely on someone else to take care of her when she knows when enough is enough and won't know how to leave on her own. She's never broken up with a guy before and is definitely too meek in that regard. except from me. Not that I don't hear you, but my wife's behavior suggests that we might be able to work things out. And the greatest way to accomplish that is for us to heal together after we have both healed. Before we can go to work, she has a lot of work to do. However, it is feasible. Until then, I'll go about my life, and after the separation paperwork is processed, I'm sure to go on dates. I'll keep healing and learning till then. This is something new for her. Hasn't deceived me. However, she exhibits similar behavior to someone who is in an addiction circumstance. I stood by her side during the abusive relationship, which resulted in her attending court-ordered therapy. The therapist likened her experience of being in an abusive relationship to being in a whole other mental state, which is strikingly similar to the addictive aspect of the current relationship she is in. We were really broken up at the time. Since I was also her best friend, I was there for her. An entirely new set of conditions. Does she have self-interest? Yes, as of right now. She is a walking textbook. She's not a conceited person, though. Not at all. She wasn't then, either. Is she too young? Indeed. Her mother did a good job raising her, but there were times when she was a better friend than a parent, getting her out of class every time she failed to prepare for an exam. Among further stuff, she is moving out due in part to the therapist's recommendation for her to do so. She must learn how to look after herself, to become somewhat more mature. That I recognize, if her tiny midlife crisis or her sadness caused us to part ways. There's no better way to expand that with a solid support structure than better ladies, but we're not. Did she think of me as a fallback then? Most likely, even if I was unaware of it at the time. We broke up for a number of reasons, and at the time, it was mutual. We were actually making space for one another, so when it happened, there was almost a sense that we may reconcile. I won't dispute that she still has a lot of maturing to do. However, I also control how this story ends. All that matters is when and how. There have been a lot more happy days than unhappy ones throughout their 17 years of dating. We split up to make room for that year. Yes, this thing right now is really great. However, despite being overcome by the fog, she is a wonderful person. She has an addiction. There is no hope until that is resolved. That might be a different story when that stops. Or perhaps I have really moved on. But for now, make every plan possible. A legal separation and a divorce are extremely similar in California. The only significant distinction is that if you file for formal separation, you can keep your insurance or perks. Similar to filling out papers, this system is designed to accommodate individuals who, for moral or religious reason, do not wish to get divorced. Apart from that, it is identical in every way, and you need to get a divorce before you can get married again. I could date, of course, but it's also okay if my wife feels differently. At one point, she was telling me to go find someone and be happy. Though I find it humorous, I wouldn't. Furthermore, it appears to me that the is unaware that we are divorcing rather than obtaining a divorce, in contrast to him. And because the ex wants everything, this has come to a standstill. However, from what I gather, he's also becoming a little possessive and controlling. Now that he has the prize, he is unwilling to part with it. But the chase will be done in no time at all once she manages to escape on her own. What a gentleman. That is that she will shortly be moving out. She is achieving her goals. I'm letting her free so she may go out and discover who she is. Meanwhile, my attention will be diverted. It is difficult to watch, and it appears that I am not paying attention. However, I'm going with the chances because everything I've read and heard from others has said that this is a fantasy, that relationships end quickly, and that they're just a haze. What do I do now that it doesn't endure and she emerges from the mist and understands what she's done? Rebuilding my family and marriage is how I plan to respond. However, here, blind faith will not be allowed. Not a simple reconciliation. To improve our marriage, she needs to put in a lot of work, and we as a team also need to put in a lot of work. I was a doormat 3 months ago. I am not who I once was. I feel stronger, more certain of the plan, and more confident in myself. Not only will she acquire my trust, but she will also have the chance to earn it and, ideally, reunite with her family. I also want to have the chance to give him NC letterite at work, informing him in public that my wife will file a harassment complaint if he makes her feel uncomfortable if they speak to each other again. That is guaranteed to frighten him. He should cry like a small rat, in my opinion. 6 months later, just a little report. We attended our son's first counseling session. How to assist him in adjusting to the separation was the main focus. How to approach him, what to say to make him feel like it's not his fault. Everything went smoothly. I've been following my strict regimen, and the results I've been hoping for are coming from it. It's raising questions. She's noticed the adjustments I've made. Nevertheless, I still need to persuade her of the main two, being unyielding and unresponsive. However, I believe she is the one who is stubborn when it comes to those two things, and I only come across as such when she doesn't get her way. I've been talking to my IC about everything. She made the observation that my wife most likely suffers from narcissistic personality disorder. Should we ever get back together, she provided me advice on how to handle it, which is good since it would enable me to comprehend her better and support her in overcoming it, in addition to her sadness. Nevertheless, she's leaving by the end of the month, and to be honest, it's made Plana so much simpler that I'm sure the other man can't compete. It has also improved me as a person for me. I think I might genuinely come to like spending some time alone myself. I'm using lemons to make lemonade, not that it's perfect. My therapist has also been doing a great job of helping me understand that I'm not in a competition with the other man. Says I should just concentrate on being the best version of myself and that he is in competition with me. She is also assisting me with dropping the rope, disconnecting, unplugging, or whatever term you want to use. Additionally, my wife is feeling the effects of something else. She even told one of my coworkers, who is sort of watching her for me. She believes that I might have already dated someone else, which is why she is terrified of me meeting someone else. And for the moment, of course, the icing. The other man sought counseling from the STBXW, with whom I maintain regular contact. The ex had branded him manipulative and domineering, he revealed to my wife. The former partner verified that she's beginning to see why. She also referred to him as being inconsiderate, and with a little assistance from me, she pondered out loud why, despite having her papers served earlier this year, the ex hasn't stood up for him. She then acknowledged that he was acting inappropriately as she was organizing things, had been raising red flags and shooting himself in the foot, sort of like moving out. When she moves out, I can't wait to see her fall flat on her face, and I'll keep her waiting a little while longer after I know she's finished. I have made it clear that I will not be her fallback option or anyone else's second choice, and now that the affair is over, I won't be her rebound. I feel wonderful, but I still give her until the holidays. She is not, either. The fact that I can execute a full plan B is the only killer. However, that is a result of our son. However, I will try my best to let him satisfy her needs, which he will not be able to. In my opinion, the opus is once again turning into a backup plan because things are not going as planned. I'll see you there. Part 4 will be released tomorrow morning. Subscribe to get the